Namaste. Hello. Hi. I trust that you all are doing exceptionally well, as am I, in the care of the divine. And today we're going to start with a story which is a Sufi story. And this is a story that is set in Persia, one part of it. So in Persia, there was this merchant who was extremely rich, extremely rich. He had every luxury possible, you know. And he once traveled to India for his work. And one of his passions of this merchant was hunting. So whether it was hunting animals, whether it was hunting birds, it was his passion. He loved doing this. So when he came to India, the place that he was staying in, he asked the locals there, what is, I like hunting and what is it that I can hunt? So they said that this place is very famous for its birds, We have very wonderful, beautifully colored birds with the most amazing plumages. So he said, okay, so I want to hunt the birds, found some local hunters who took him into the forest. And when they went there, they found this one tree which was really thick and dense and lush and beautiful, which was filled with birds, filled with the most amazing birds of every hue and color, And the merchant was thrilled that he was getting this chance. So they all got ready and they set up their bows and arrows and everything. And just when they were absolutely ready and they were about to literally, leave the bows from the arrows, leave the arrows from the bows, suddenly there was this loud raucous sound of shrieking, and then suddenly they saw that all the birds just flew away in all directions from the tree. And then upon examining, they saw that on the topmost branch of that tree were two parrots. They were a male and a female, they were a couple. And they, because they were on the topmost branch, had literally the bird's eye view, 360-degree vision. They could see everything. So when they saw the hunter and his party getting ready to shoot, they were the ones that started making the sound to warn off the other birds. So now this was done. The day was ruined, obviously, because the birds are not going to come back that easily, But he was determined. He was not going to give up. And since they had come in there early morning, they decided to wait. And so they waited. And they waited. And by evening, not by evening, say by afternoonish, the birds started coming back. They thought, oh, now we are safe, and they were back there. So these guys set up again, and again the same thing happened. The parrots warned the birds off, and then it happened a third time. Now the merchant was really angry because he was used to getting his way. He was a man who lived in luxury. He had everything that money could afford, and here he was not being able to do what he wanted to do, which was follow his passion for shooting and hunting. He was really angry, and he was determined that I am going to kill these parrots. Now that was the goal. The ones who are disrupting my hunt. So he and the local hunters, they got about setting up a trap for the parrots. And they put up a net, and they put these very lovely foods which the parrots like, chilies and sunflower seeds and whatever other seeds that they like, and some water, and they set it up. And then they went and hid, to see what happens. Sure enough, after a while, because the parrots were always there, right? These guys couldn't shoot that far, so they were always there. Now the parrots have seen these guys keeping the water, keeping the seeds and the chilies and everything, right? Now, but finally, in the end, they are birds, right? So they are not going to be that smart in thinking that these guys have laid a trap, right? So they fly down. They fly down, and now the wife is approaching this food and this water very cautiously. She's like literally one step at a time, because we all know that women have this inner instinct. We know when something is fishy, right? Not that guys also know, but still, here it was the woman, the female parrot. So she was being very cautious, and the male, because he saw all this food, now for them as parrots it was a feast, because there was everything wonderful that they could think of, all the seeds, the chilies, everything. He did not wait for a second. He was in such a hurry, he just ran into that trap. Literally, he flew into it, and he was caught. The female instantly flew back up onto the tree. Now this merchant took this parrot and he kept him with him, and when all his work was done in India, he took him back with him to Persia. Now these parrots were very clever. They knew how to talk, as in they would repeat, right? Parrots, repeat what humans say. So this parrot started repeating things, everything the merchant was doing, he would repeat, everything the merchant was saying, he would repeat. So after a while, they got into a kind of understanding, and the merchant was very happy that he had a parrot that could talk and that could understand. So then the merchant one day had to go back to India, because he was a merchant, so he dealt in whatever. In India those days we had many beautiful things. We used to make beautiful silk, so maybe he came to India to buy silk. So he came back to India, and before he came, he spoke to the parrot, and he said, I'm going back to India, which is your country. Is there anything that you would like me to get you from there, or is there something you would like me to do? So the parrot said that when you go back to India, would you please go to that tree where you got me from, because my wife will still be there, and please tell her that I am very happy with you. I am in this beautiful golden cage. I get the most delicious food to eat, So I want you to tell her that I am very, very happy, and if she has a message for me, to please tell you. But this is my message for her. So the merchant said, sure, I will go. Because the merchant was very happy with him. This parrot was like a friend of his now, he was his friend and companion. So merchant comes to India, and then when he has the free time, he goes to the tree. And when he goes to the tree, sure enough, he sees the female parrot there now. And now she has seen him and recognized him, and she starts crying because she's remembering her husband, and she starts crying, and she says, oh merchant, why have you come here? You've come here to remind me that my husband has been taken away by you. I suffer and I long for him, you cruel man. So the merchant says, no, I have got a message from your husband, and hearing which you will be very happy. So she says, oh yes, what is the message? So he says, he said to tell you that he is very happy with me. I have kept him in a beautiful golden cage. He gets delicious food to drink, eat, and I am there for company, so he's very happy there. And he said that if you had something to tell him or any message for him, please convey it. I will relay it to him when I go back. On hearing this, she just drops down from the tree with her wings open and she dies. Now the merchant is shocked. He says, oh my God, now what do I do? So, but anyway, he feels very sad that his friend and companion's wife has thus died. But nevertheless, that's life. So, he comes back to Persia. When he comes back to Persia, the parrot is waiting impatiently and he wants to know, what happened? Did you meet my wife? So he says, yeah. I went to the tree and she was there and I gave her your message. So what did she say? Does she have a message for me? So he said, I'm very sorry, but when I told her that you were in this golden gilded cage and you had the best of food, she fell over and died. I'm so sorry. And the moment he heard these words, the parrot fell over and died himself. Now the merchant became very sad and he was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this fellow? Poor thing. My parrot has also died. So he opens the cage, and he says, now what do I do? The moment he opens the cage, he was going to take him out and maybe thought he'll bury him or whatever. The moment he opens the cage, the parrot jumps back up on its feet and flies out of the cage. In a trice, before he knew what was happening, he was a mere speck in the sky. He couldn't even see him anymore. Now the merchant was in shock. He was like, oh my God, what just happened? So he went to the wise man of that area, who was called Yazid. He went to Yazid and he said, this happened. He relayed the whole thing and how he went to India and the message the wife sent back. So the Yazid told him, he said that what happened, why did my parrot do that, and what was it, that he heard that made him do this. So he said, when you went and you relayed to his wife that he is in a golden gilded cage, she dropped dead in front of you, which was a signal to him to do the same thing here, so that was his way to escape. And he, because he was a parrot, he understood that this was the message and the signal that she had sent. You do that and you will be free. So obviously we are assuming that Mr. Parrot flew all the way back to India to Mrs. Parrot and they lived happily ever after on that tree, right? So the point that we are trying to make here is that everything in life that happens to you happens A, in perfect divine timing, B, everything is divine design. Every single thing is divine design. This parrot, them warning the others, right? The merchant wanting to take revenge, setting up a trap. Now the wife was so cautious, she didn't just jump into the trap, right? She was very careful. Why? Because she was choosing wisely. The husband, on the other hand, decided to be in a hurry and he made the wrong choice, which is how he landed up in the cage and she was free over here, right? But there was a divine design to this, and there was divine timing. This guy was supposed to be in that cage for that long, till the merchant came back to India, relayed his message. The wife gave her message, goes back to Persia, relays the message to the parrot, and he does what the wife says, and he is free. But he couldn't have become free not one moment earlier, right? That time was fixed, it's divine timing. Everything that happens in your life, in my life, in all our lives is divine design. We are like parts of a jigsaw puzzle, and so are our lives. Everything we are doing is fixing. This piece goes there, that piece goes there. You know how it is? Sometimes you look back on your life and you say, oh my, yeah, this thing happened and then that thing happened, but that time I didn't realize it. You didn't realize it, but everything that is happening to you is only and only pure divinity acting through you, for you, around you, above, below, in all 16 directions. It is only the divine who is acting. And if you choose to be in the flow, if you choose to listen to your higher guidance, like the Mrs. Parrot did, right? She was very cautious. She was feeling from within herself that no, something seems to be awry, something is amiss. I cannot just fly into this and start eating. Let me check, let me be careful. There was an inner GPS that was guiding her, right? The more we are in tune with our inner GPS, the better it is for us. Because then you start coming more and more into divine allowance. You're more and more surrendered to divine will and divine flow. Then everything in your life will be conspiring to make your life better, will be conspiring to save you, will be protecting you. But if you just do things rashly and you make the wrong choices, then you will have to suffer for a bit. Till the divine decides, no, okay, you've played out your part now in this suffering, now it's time to move on. Good times lie ahead. So another example which I can give you is of my own self. I'm just going to take a sip of water. So, all of you know of my travails in the kitchen, and I have also spoken to you about multitasking, right? Which I find difficult, but then you also realize that with the way things are, sometimes we do that. So I have this thing where when I make tea, okay, I try very hard not to look away when you know that it's really going to come to a boil, and then you're going to put it on slow so that it keeps simmering. I have had so many times where it has just overflowed, okay, which means obviously that stove top, the cooking range, entire top needs to be cleaned, the bottom needs to be cleaned. It's an entire process, plus don't talk about what happens to the saucepan in which you're making the tea, right? So now this would happen to me again and again, okay, and then what would happen is every time it would happen, an expletive would come out of my mouth. Expletive, you guys understand, right? It's an abusive term. So one day, I was talking to the divine. I said, God, you know what, words are so important and they're so powerful, and there's a point where even that doesn't matter. But I don't know if I have reached that place, but I would love to not say the F word anymore, because that's what comes out of my mouth, honestly, every time I spill something or something goes wrong, right? So I said, can I please not say it? I want you to take that away from me. I don't want to say that anymore. I want to be able to just be peaceful, So I started seeing that after a while, I did not even realize it. So the last couple of times where I have had spillage happen, and trust me, the spillage has also happened with me actually. I mean, I'm actually standing there, and then I will tell you this, that my mother has shared the same experience with me. So we were just talking about it, and we both realized that this has happened to both of us, that we are actually standing there and you're actually watching the tea, right? And it's actually coming up there and it's overflowing, and you have not rushed to slow the gas, and then it has just overflowed, you know. But in that overflowing, it happened to me once, it happened to me twice, it happened to me thrice. And in that overflowing, I discovered yesterday that there was no expletive coming out of my mouth or even in my mind. I was just merely, picking a saucepan, cleaning it up from underneath, putting it on another burner, and then starting to clean the mess that had taken place. And then suddenly I realized, I said, oh wow, I didn't say anything. And I just accepted. I was in divine flow, you know. So that is where actually the theme of today's talk comes from, because that was the time when the divine spoke to me and said, see, this is called divine design. I am making the tea spill over, not you. You remember how you even actually watched it and you allowed it to flow over? She said, yeah, I do. There was a reason for that. It was made to overflow with you watching, with you not taking any action, with you then, having to do what you had to do, and then having you realize that, oh wow, I had zero reaction to this. I didn't even say, oh my god, you duh, you were actually watching it, and even then you didn't run and you didn't, slow the gas. Nothing, zero, zilch. There was no putting myself down. There was no abusing. There was no, oh my god, nothing at all. It was like just part of a day's work. It's all fine. So the point once again is that everything is happening merely and merely and merely and only to teach us to connect more with our divinity, to be more in the flow of divine order. Because the more we are in the flow of divine order, everything comes into divine order. You see? So nothing happens randomly. Everything is divinely ordained for us, so we understand. And the longer we take to understand, obviously the longer is going to be your journey, your ordeal, if you want to call it that, right? But the sooner you realize that no, you're doing everything so I can learn, so I can become more expansive, so I can reach my highest potential, right? Now you'll say, how can you, what are you talking about? You're in the kitchen, you're making tea, and you're talking about reaching your highest potential. Yes, I am, because I have shared this with you earlier. For me, when it was announced that this is lockdown 4.0, my first reaction from inside was, yes, yahoo, I get 2 more weeks to work on myself. which doesn't mean we stop working on ourselves. But I knew that this is like, boot camp. Everything is very intense. You know how people go to boot camps, right, to lose weight or to just get very fit. There they make you work like crazy. It's grueling, the physical workouts they put you through, you know. So this is like spiritual boot camp, right? We are being made to really look into ourselves, really examine what's going on with me, right? Because we are all put into situations, a lot of us, where you may have felt cramped, being in a home with everyone there, so many things happening to everybody, right? People are feeling lot of throat work happening right now because people are not able to speak up for themselves, and this is where, when we can't speak up for ourselves, you will find your throat getting blocked, you will find your throat getting sore, because you're sore at somebody, you're upset with someone, but you can't tell them anything because why? It will get blown out of proportion, create a fight, whatever, not being able to breathe, feeling panicky. Same thing, what's going to happen, and I'm stuck here and I can't even say anything. So much is going on with every single person on multiple levels, So we have got to really start looking into ourselves. We have got to, like I keep telling you, connect with divinity within. We are sons and daughters of the divine God, Allah, Krishna, Mother, whatever you wish to call the energies, but know that you are divine, and it is your birthright to be able to experience just flow, just joy, just being happy for no reason, right? And the more that we connect with those aspects of ourselves that are divine, the more we can experience these frequencies of joy, the more we can experience these frequencies of absolute ease, of feeling safe, of feeling protected at all times, Like I am somebody I have had to step out of the house many a time for, whatever essentials are needed and all of that. So we have this, we had once this vegetables, people had come down into our society in the lane, and they had set it up very nicely so people could go and buy whatever they needed, veggies. I have gone everywhere from day one, and I say it very happily and with the greatest, like, divine shamelessness. I'll say that I refuse to wear a mask. I refuse to use sanitizer. I don't use. I'm sorry. Because my motto is, God is my mask and God is my sanitizer. Now that does not mean that you go ahead and say, oh, she said that, so I'm not going to wear a mask. I can say it, and I can say it with great divine pride, because I am working on my spiritual immunity day in and night out. So I know when I step out, without the shadow of a doubt, that nothing can touch me. Okay? No virus can touch me. I don't even have this much fear. Right? So only if you have that, if you are fearless, if you have divine courage and the knowing that you are surrounded at all times with divine protection, then and only then attempt it. Till then, please use your sanitizers, wear your masks, do whatever it is that you need to do to make yourself feel comfortable, to make your family feel safe and protected. Please go ahead. This is not anything that I am propagating that everybody do. I am speaking only and only from my experience and about myself. All right. But what I'm saying is, you need to work on this aspect of yourself, because the more you will work on it, the more your life will start becoming amazing. You will find amazing grace flowing in every area, in every aspect. You know, learn to start looking at everything, everyone, every person, place, situation, opportunity as only and only coming from the divine. Only coming from the divine. Nothing is random. Nothing is, oh, I have a worldly self and I have a spiritual self. What is that? You know, everything that is happening to you is only happening for you to bring your spirit in more into your body. That is what this life is about. You're bringing in with the light more of your spirit to come in and embody you. That's it. So everything in your life is divine design. It's like a chart, you know, that you came with, that you were born with. There was a soul plan. And you are going step by step. And I also want you to understand that we are so blessed and so lucky to be living in these times that we have the opportunity to redesign our futures. So you can literally at any point in time, when you decide, turn everything around for yourself, all your struggles, you know, all your beliefs, all your conditionings, change things around for yourself. Because you have the power. You are a divine child. You have every power that your parents have, your divine parents have. You know, so use it to your advantage. Why not? Why not? It's been given to you. You know. So know that nothing is random. Know that nothing is just happening, you know. Yeah, there are days when you feel, oh, life is just one humdrum thing. Nothing new is happening. It's the same old. Why? Because you're letting it be the same old. Take pride, take joy in everyday things. Like I've been saying, ask the divine to come into everything that you are doing. God, I am going to do the laundry. Please come in, be with me. Okay, I'm going to be putting up the clothes to dry. Please come, be with me. You know, every step of the way, ask for divine intervention to be with you all the time. And it's going to be wonderful. Because we are blessed, we are living in a time where we are actually bringing in so much light into our beings. We are bringing in so much light onto the planet herself. You know, that things are going to change very dramatically the moment you decide to connect. So once again, my loves, connect to the divine within you. And it's a very easy thing to do. So, until next time, have a fun day. Today is Sunday. So, have a beautiful, warm, loving, joyful, blissful day ahead, wherever you may be in the world. Sending you infinite blessings and infinite love. Namaste.